Hi guys, it's Blackie.
And Bear.
And welcome to Wayz number 38.
37, 38.
I think it's 38. I really do. I think the last one I posted was 37, I believe. If not, you'll see the number.
We can't count that high.
Oh, I gotta take my shoes off to add up to that. But it's an early morning down here in the south in early September. You're just starting to get the dull color on the pecan trees. One or two of the black gums I started seeing a couple of leaf changes on. So
Yeah.
not quite yet, but it's, you know, early enough. But as you pointed out, squirrel season starts tomorrow.
And rabbit season.
And
starts
rabbit.
tomorrow at dawn.
So it's squirrel, rabbits, possum, a few other things, I believe.
Yeah, all those things don't have closed season.
Well, with my family, what I was always taught was we never went squirrel hunting until you had cool mornings.
Right.
First frost, a lot of people said first frost, but
Right.
a lot of times, some years, hell, you didn't get a first frost till February, so, you know.
Yeah, squirrels down here have a parasite called a wolf. That's what we call them. And they're not in the meat, okay? They're strictly in the skin, but they look terrible. I mean, they look really, really bad. And the old timers would not eat the meat for fear that the parasite was in the meat. And I can't say as I blame them.
Yeah, even though we know today from the parasite morphology, it's not, there's no eggs, no young, no nothing in the meat. The meat is completely safe. But it's the fact when you're skinning it, you come up and you see that thing, it's very disconcerting. And so they go away as soon as it gets cold.
Yeah.
So most people just avoid them.
On that note,
Yeah.
can you tell a difference in the temperature and the humidity this morning?
A little. It was kind of cool this morning when I first got up at 7.
Yeah.
It was like 69, which felt good. I'd be better with 59, but I'll take 69.
It's better than 79 at 7 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, that first cool morning tells us we made it. We made it through, and the humidity was lower, so it did feel real good. It's where you don't run with the windows all the way down to the car. That's, you know.
Yeah, we told y'all that it's not so much the temperature as the humidity.
Yeah.
The humidity is what'll get you. But yeah, we actually have a little bit cooler morning and a little bit lower humidity, and it's wonderful. And with the wolves on the squirrels, they'll be out probably in another 4 to 6 weeks. They'll just naturally drop out and clean the squirrel up. It'll be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're blessed down here with our hunting seasons because squirrel goes through February the 29th and rabbit goes through February the 29th.
And now, just in the last couple of years, possum has become year-round.
Yeah.
They've opened it up to year-round, and so we got hog is year-round, coyote is year-round, possum, there's something else that's now year-round. No close season. Hog, no close season on hog.
There's a little bitty strip of counties right across the bottom of the state that don't have a fall turkey season. And guess what?
We don't.
We're in it. So we don't have a fall turkey season, but if we go 28 miles north of where we are right this minute, we got a fall turkey season. So we may have to sneak up to my grandmother's place.
Well, you know, I had family members that were big turkey hunters. But I guess because of the fact like that, I grew up where we hunted turkeys in the spring.
That's because we didn't have a fall turkey
We
season.
didn't have fall turkey, and so to me, that was the thing. You'd get the spring turkey, and then that went into the freezer, become the Thanksgiving and the Christmas, so you had to store it for 6 months. So you couldn't have a fresh turkey for Thanksgiving, not legally. Although I do remember a family member that had a pen that had ducks in, and a turkey got in there.
Oops.
and he never kicked the turkey out. He just let the turkey eat. And so the turkey got pretty big. And
Yeah, it's amazing how big a turkey can get.
yeah, when they're a wild turkey, when they're being fed all the time,
Yes.
and fed right, and minerals and stuff. And so the first week in November, at church, he stood up and announced that they were going to be ducks. That they had 40-something ducks, and they were going to slaughter 10 of them. And so anybody in the church that wanted a duck, let him know. And that year, in Thanksgiving, we were going over there, and he said that we'll be having duck. And I thought, okay, duck. Get there, and here's a big fat turkey. And he said, ain't that the biggest duck you ever seen?
Yeah, domestic turkey, a really big homegrown domestic turkey will run 40 pounds.
Yeah, they're just that big.
They're huge.
It's a pterodactyl. You know, we don't eat goose a lot down here.
Not really.
You know, we
No.
do have a goose season.
Yeah, we do. And goose, particularly Canada goose, is a reasonably recent import. Now, we have got resident populations of Canada geese. I know there's some up on Lake Eufaula. There are some on the county lake here, I think. We've had some, passers-by here on the farm. They'll come in and spend a few days. We even had one 2 years ago, a mated pair that actually raised a brood of goslings. And they taught them how to fly, and they all flew out in formation. But they haven't been here but probably 10, 12 years at the most. I don't know how they got them down here. I really don't, because we're not on a flyway.
I remember we had a late season hurricane that had come in Texas and had sliced all the way up into Tennessee. It curved on the front. And right after that, at the city pond over there at the park, about 6 geese showed up. And I thought they had turned them loose.
Right.
And I was talking to a groundskeeper and said, no, they're wild geese. They just came in here. They showed up after that hurricane. They may have been on that flight path and got blowed away out here. So.
Now, I've eaten goose, and I like goose. I like duck. But in reality, a goose is a winged pig. They are nasty creatures. When I used to work for the city of Eufaula, we got complaints all the time about geese chasing golf balls on local golf courses and leaving fertilizer deposits for their efforts.
Yeah, you had to work around the obstacle to put it into the cup because it was piles in the way.
But they are pigs with wings.
Yeah.
They eat good, just like a pig does, but they are pigs with wings.
I remember seeing one on a farm. It was an old black couple, and they had a couple of them, and I was working with them, getting paid to do a few things, and little handyman work, and they wanted the chicken pen fixed a little bit, and so I showed up with my gear to go out there and patch it up, patch the wire and stuff, and they had a goose in there.
And it ate you.
Oh boy, you know, and no. She said, I'll get the goose. She walked in, she stuck her thumb out like that. And he come running up to bite it, and when he went to bite it, she opened her hand up and just clamped around his mouth and grabbed him by the beak and the head and just kind of picked him up and held him like that and said, go ahead, boy. And she toted him and put him into a little bitty pen they had where he couldn't get out. And so I nailed everything up, patched it up.
Geese are excellent burglar alarms. The only thing better I can think of right off the top of my head is a guinea fowl. They will let you know if anything moves.
Yeah, if you're somebody that's easily disturbed by squawking, don't get one.
No.
But if you want to know everything going on, they are there. They're good. Geese make good security systems on lakes.
Yep.
You know, I knew moonshiners and stuff. They had mules, they had packs of dogs, and they had geese. You ain't sneaking by any of them. So they're going to announce your presence whether you want them to or not. But you know, this time of year, the fall's starting out. The heat is now, hallelujah, we're getting a break here.
Bearable.
Bearable, you know, and for us here in the south, like we've talked about in the past, it's kind of like you guys up north in the snow country waiting for the ice to break on the rivers. For us, it's waiting for the heat to break. You know, we've been in heat since April, early May, definitely. Hot days, stuff like that, and so we're sitting here waiting for the heat to break, because as soon as it does, you know, oh good, I made it through summer. Yes, there's going to be some hot days, but the cool stuff's coming now.
Yep.
And
we can see it coming.
we can see it coming. It's not here, but it's right yonder. You know, and so we've got to endure it a little bit more, but not as bad. This year has not been as bad. We only had a couple of days over 100. High humidity as usual, but
Yeah, this year, like you say, the humidity has been the deciding factor, hands down. It's been terrible. Of course, the Gulf's been hot, and also El Nino's been off of California. So those two factors sort of turn the heat up, if you follow my drift.
yeah, we're looking at right now Hurricane Lee. It's not going to get us, but it may curve into the East Coast. Not that I would wish a Category 5 to hit New York City or anything like that, but you know, which would be absolutely horrible and devastating. But I remember as a child wondering what would happen in New York City if an honest-to-God southern hurricane made it all the way up there. Because them big old glass canyons and everything with all that wind, woo, it would be impressive, you know.
I don't even want to think about that. That would be nasty.
It would be nasty. But for once, the ocean water in that current is hot enough to get something that far north.
Sure.
And I mean, heck, California had one.
California had one.
Woo!
First time in, I think, 50 years.
1938 was the last time it happened.
Okay, so it's 85 years.
85 years. They're not set up for that out there, which is just a big rainmaker. I was seeing the coverage on it, and they were talking about, you know, it's just bucketing down. I'm looking at it going, looks like a southern afternoon thunderstorm. I don't mean to belittle them. I know they're not used to it. But when we're talking about that kind of rain, you literally cannot see 50 yards. Period. From one side of the street to the other, you cannot see the house across the street from you. It'll be raining that hard for 10 or 12 hours. You know, and so when they're talking about how bad it is, and you're looking at it going, they got an inch of rain. Oh my God. We got 18 inches in 4 hours one time.
One of our followers, who's from California, messaged me, and he said that his local, the hurricane, and I'm not downgrading. I'm not trying to besmirch anybody's good name, but the weather folks out there, he was telling me his local weatherman had to drive 100 miles up into the mountains to find any flooding and any mudslides. There was nothing where he lived because it was all slow, steady rain. It was a lot of slow, steady rain, but the ground was able to handle it. And you know, of course, they were just harbingers of doom, and they were ready to evacuate the entire West Coast.
Well, I mean, and a lot of those cities out there, they're just not set up for handling water.
They're not.
Their drainages and stuff are not set up for that kind of volume.
Yeah, we talked about the Los Angeles River in a recent video.
Yeah.
And about how there was video of it completely full.
Yeah.
Instead of being this little trickle of water that they film movies on.
Yeah.
No. No.
You know, and that's a river again. And that's, I mean, which now on the other side of that coin, if they're used to earthquakes, we're not. If the New Madrid earthquake kicked off, we would be running through to the loons from coast to coast over here, because we're not used to that, you know.
Well, you know why the New Madrid was so devastating?
The plate shook and carried the shock a lot better than it does out west.
Yeah, out west of Mississippi, it's shallow rock.
Mm-hmm.
And up over here, it's sandy clay loam.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of having the firm base of the rock, you had this jello sandy loam doing this number. And that's why the New Madrid quake outside of St. Louis, Missouri in, what was it, 1804?
1811.
1811, sometime back in that era. It was right outside of St. Louis, Missouri, but it rang church bells in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah. When we're going north, we're in the coastal plain. But when you get to Montgomery, Alabama, and you're going north on 231,
Up toward Wetumpka.
right, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where you come out of the Alabama River Plain and you suddenly go up into this hill. Now that is actually a crater impact area, but that is literally the edge of the North American plate, which is a billion-year-old plate, and it's solid as a rock, and so it transmits shock a lot better. So they were showing a thing I was looking at in California, which is much newer and softer plate, and so they showed a 5.0 earthquake, and they show an epicenter about 25 miles out that you could feel shaking at that 5.0, 25 miles out. And then they showed another 5.0 earthquake that happened in Virginia, and it was felt over 1,500 miles away, you know, because it transmits the shock so much better. So whenever we ever get that thing to cook off, I'm sure that California will have a good laugh at us for freaking out over everything shaking and rattling, and, you know, because they don't even react to it because they're so used to it. But we're used to hurricanes, you know.
Do you remember the big earthquake that hit Greece in the early 80s and shifted the Parthenon?
Yeah.
Okay. I had some kinfolk that lived over there, and that summer we went to visit them.
Mm-hmm.
They take afternoon naps after lunch, like most Mediterranean folks do. I literally woke up and my bed was doing this around the room. It probably moved a foot out and a foot to the side and a foot back. And literally, it was doing that. Didn't last long, but it was quite a ride for the few minutes, for the few seconds it did last.
Oh yeah. Well, there was a young lady we had that came to work at Walmart. She had been born and raised in South California. And somebody from Troy that was working for Walmart had went to California for the career to take over a management position. And so they had become friends, and the first time she was in an earthquake, like I said, it was just something that rattled stuff. Said it freaked her out, you know, that everything rattling. They all had a good laugh about it. So whenever she got an opportunity to become a co-manager, she wanted to come back home to Alabama. There was an opportunity. So she got this lady to come with her, and they were just friends. And she was done in California anyway, so she decided to come to Alabama. And so I clearly remember it. She was up front, going to be running our service desk. She had been with Walmart like 8 or 10 years, you know, seasoned person, very stable. And she'd been here about 2.5 weeks, and we had a real heavy afternoon thunderstorm hit. And it went to raining so hard you could hear it in the building.
Yes.
You know.
I bet in Walmart and heard them.
And by God, she lost her cookies.
Really?
She just freaked out. She had never heard rain that hard, and she was terrified that the roof was going to collapse. I mean, we had to take her to the back to calm her down. She was not just, you know, nervous. I mean, she's having an anxiety attack because the rain, whenever she looked out and you could not see across the parking lot, and she just had a meltdown. And when the other lady manager said that, "Oh, honey, wait till we have a hurricane. This ain't nothing. This is a spring shower."
Do you remember when the tornado took the roof off of Taylor's IGA?
Yeah.
Daddy was in there talking to our next door neighbor, and when he heard the roof start to separate, he grabbed the neighbor and pushed him down on the floor and landed on him, and the roof just went right off the top of him. They could look up and see sky.
I was in Ozark at the Roses store with my stepmother back in the 70s, early 70s, when the tornado peeled the roof off of that place. And
You don't forget them.
I don't know, but I can clearly see it as right now. Thunder, the booming and the bamming. We heard the hail.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm in the clothing area. Back in them days, they had those old square tables that had the curtains all the way around. They stored, and they'd have pants or whatever up in here.
Yep.
And my stepmother told me stay here, and she'd gone to try something on or whatever. And I'm standing there, and I remember all the lights flickered on and off, and then the emergency lights popped on. In the far left corner, I saw the roof do that, and I saw it come up, and I saw wind coming, and I ducked underneath the thing. I was probably like 8 years old. I ducked into that thing and grabbed a hold of that thing, went, and went sliding around by the wind. It turned at everything, it bumped into stuff. Ceiling was falling, all kinds of stuff was going. Women were hollering, raising, and it only lasted about 30 seconds total. And then when it came to a stop, and I stood up and looked around, I was probably 15, 20 feet from where I started. Half the roof was gone, rain was blowing in. You know, and women were pulling, you know, fiberglass insulation off their hair and everything else. Half were cussing, half were praying. It was a 50-50 mix.
Yep. I remember that jet engine sound very, very well. Hey, when did we do the old Wayz with Miss Lita about the seeds, about the plants?
About the microgrowing.
Microgreens.
Microgreens, 2 or 3, maybe 4 ago.
Got something I want to show you.
All right, bring it up.
I went to the co-op, our local feed store the other day,
Right.
and I got some turnip seed, okra.
There's a pile of okra in there because okra's a tiny little bitty seed.
Yeah, yeah. You can see these are right here. Those are turnip seeds that I spilled a minute ago. There's a little bitty hole in the pack. Looks like
Black pepper.
black pepper.
That's what they're talking about, a
Itty
seed.
bitty seeds.
So that big old bag, that many of them, there's a lot of seed.
Also, got some cucumbers. That was a mistake. I didn't mean to get cucumber. Pumpkin and peas. We're gonna go back and see Miss Lita and see what we can do growing some microgreens.
Okay. A couple of years ago, you made your own bacon.
Yeah.
You took a belly and did the smoking and everything on the grill. Let's do that this fall.
Can do.
Justin Coon is trying right now to do his own.
He sent me a picture last night where he had just rubbed it and put it up.
Oh yeah, he asked me 100 questions about it. I said, you need to talk to Bear. He's the cook in this, not me. I understand how to smoke meat for preservation, stuff like that, but if you want somebody that knows the finesse, talk to you, not me. So.
I thank you for your confidence, but I don't know how deserved it is.
Well, you know more than me, Kimosabe, so let's just go with it.
I did, about 3 years ago now, I did smoke some bacon, and it turned out pretty good. Matter of fact, I gave y'all
Yeah.
a side for Christmas.
Yeah, and we ate it and enjoyed it. And,
I think Mrs. Blackie ate more than he did, but that's just rumor.
well, she enjoyed it, you know. And when Miss Blackie gets something she likes, she tends to eat it every chance she gets until it's gone. She doesn't ever eat to excess or anything like that, but when she gets tired of it, it'll be 6 months or a year till she wants to come back to it. So there'll be times she wants Mongolian. We go to that Mongolian restaurant, and then suddenly you get in the car and what do you want to eat? Not Mongolian. Okay, well, Mongolian's off the list for the next foreseeable future. Suddenly it's chicken or something like that. So her tastes vary, but when she hits something she likes, she's gonna eat it. So works for me.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have got some pork belly. Sorry, had a senior moment. I do have some pork belly that has been salted and vacuum sealed and put in the freezer. I need to get one of them out and see how salty it is and how I can ramp it back. Right now it's just salt cured pork belly. The distributor that I got it from doesn't do direct sales anymore, so I'll have to kind of go through the side door.
Well, we went to that place down here in Wicksburg, that meat market down there. That's local.
About that.
Talk to them because they got sausages, they got all kinds of stuff. And we went down there to have like tastings on Saturday, and we went down there and Hope fell in love with this Asian something blend sausage. And so we got a thing of that, and I cooked up sausage one night for her. And but they got all kinds of flavors, all kinds of stuff, and that's attached to a meat processing. So that's where you take a hog or whatever to get it processed. So I'm sure that there'd be somebody who could say, look, I'm hunting pork bellies, can you get me some?
I saw something very recently talking about the FDA with only allowing like direct sales from farms or allowing direct sales from farms to customers. Did you see that?
I have got little pieces of things about that. They're trying to be buttheads again.
Yeah.
They don't want us to be able to create anything on our own, bottom line.
But yeah, if somebody out there knows what I'm talking about, put it in the comments, because that affects a lot of people, including the two of us. I have a friend who has a farm, and I bought some beef from him last year, and it's been good stuff. But yeah, if y'all have heard about what I'm talking about, please let us know.
Well, I mean, right now remember, guys, whenever we started this, we were talking about how the price of food is about to go up. And many people said, oh, y'all are just, yeah, and now where's the price of food at? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's up 40%.
And so people like us have been talking about getting into microgreens or something like that, or doing a little bit of a barter, finding somebody that's got cows, finding somebody that's got chickens or whatever.
Matter of fact, in old Wayz 1, we talked about finding somebody who's got a couple of acres of grass that needs mowing, and you putting a calf on it.
Or a goat or something.
Goat, yeah. I'm in that situation now with my yard. All my yard keepers, kids that I supported for cutting my yard and helping them out, earn some side money. They quit. Gas is too expensive. They quit. And I'm seriously thinking about getting a goat.
Yeah. It's like I talked about in the past. What we did was we took a truck tire that still had the rim in it, up through one of the lug nut holes. We put an eye bolt, solidly secure so it's not going to come loose, and then we hooked a big horse swivel, a chain about 10 feet long, another horse swivel, and you get one of the big dog harness and you get a small goat. And you put the goat in the dog harness and you just stand it up and roll the tire and flop it down, hook the goat up and give them water and let them eat a 360, and they're just as happy as they can be walking around doing a 360. And just when they eat up everything here, pick up the tire and roll it to the next place.
Yep.
You can easily keep that's how we kept a big ditch we had back them days, because it was just so steep, just so rugged.
Sure.
Cutting it was a pain in the butt, even with a weed eater.
Well, you know, that's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a push mower, but I've got a big yard.
Mm-hmm.
And a big yard and bad knees.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of your help's done moved off to college or whatever. All you got left is $1.
Yeah.
You know, very independent young lady, though.
Very, very independent.
We'd be very supportive of her exercise plan if she wants to push a lawnmower. We will buy gas. But
yeah.
I can remember coming in August, we were cutting that yard that we had, and it was 5 acres. And I was cutting it with a push mower. And I can remember coming in August, and it's over 100 degrees, and it had taken me like, I forget how many hours to cut that yard.
Well, I have to cut my yard in blocks, in sections.
Yeah.
You know, I'll cut this half an acre and go in and take the next 2 days to recover, and then go cut this half an acre, this quarter of an acre, and then cut this one.
Mm-hmm.
My yard's about 2 acres total.
We were cutting that 5, and I would do it in 1/3.
Yeah.
And I can remember
And
walking.
how old were you?
Oh, I was like 12, 13.
Yeah.
I remember coming in the door absolutely as wet as if I had jumped into a swimming pool. And my dad sitting there, got his feet up, watching a John Wayne on TV, drinking a glass of tea.
Rank has its privilege.
Oh. And I said, I am so sick of cutting yard. And he said, so was I. That's why I had you. Tag, you're it. You give me a grandson, you can get off that detail.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah.
You know, your idea with a goat is gold, because if you have a nanny on one tire and a bill on the other,
Yeah.
during the off season, they can kind of cohabitate,
Yeah.
and you'll have more goats.
You have more goats. There's more meat, and etc. And an industry that's popping up down here now, and I mentioned it in the last always, is solar farms and stuff like that. And a lot of municipalities, they're getting herds of goats
Yeah.
to come in, and just guys show up. He's got a trailer with 30 goats, and he's charging the power company, I forget, like $1,500 a month for him to bring out like 50 goats at a time and put into the enclosure. There's a big solar farm where they're about that high off the ground,
Yeah.
and they turn to stay directed at the sun, but you can't cut under them. If you think maybe a push mower, that'd be it.
No.
Well, he comes in, he turns, it's enclosed, it's got a fence around it, he turns loose 50 goats. And they go to eating like crazy, and then when the day's over, he loads up his 50 goats, takes them home. 3 days later, he shows up with 50 more goats, turns them loose, you know, and that's all they do is he's feeding his goats, he's got meat to sell, he's got goat milk,
Right.
he's got goats themselves, the live goats to sell, and he's getting paid to let them cut grass.
Yeah. I used to have chickens, and they're a great investment. They really are. All the eggs I could ever use. My chickens got away though. I had a one last hen and a couple of biddies that got out, and of course they were got in short order. But yeah, I want to get back into chickens fairly quickly, and I also want to expand into rabbits. I've got a couple contacts with that I can get rabbits from. They I believe it was always 4. We did the extension video. You know, go into like Alabama.extension.gov, and it'll throw you right into the extension library for the state of Alabama. Literally thousands of how-tos. Beekeeping, rabbits, chickens, gardening, bats. If you want to set up a bat box to control your summertime pests like mosquitoes, bats is the way to go?
I tell you something I've done this year. I did my tomatoes like I did. Well, we've had something show up in the south. It's a great big yellow spider about that big. Literally, it's like 3 or 4 inches from tip to tip.
Yes.
And it's actually a Japanese jobo spider, but we call them banana spiders down here. And they're non-aggressive. And looking at this one guy's site where he's a professional guy who handles spiders of all kinds of stuff, he said in like 15 years of handling them, sometimes aggressively, he said, I've never been bit by one. They're just not that way. Well, I called her Susie, and she moved in amongst my tomatoes. And by God, she kept everything off my tomatoes. I mean, I'd come out, it was just a smorgasbord of aphids and bugs and everything hanging in her web. So I left her alone. And Fox came over the other day, and I ran out there and stopped him. We was pulling in my driveway because about 6 feet up on the right-hand side between 2 trees, she got her web up there because she's at the end of her life cycle now. And she's moved from the tomato plants and got up there and put that up. And now she's going to go and lay her eggs, and she'll die, and then next spring they'll hatch. And I told him, I said, do not mess with my spider. I want more of these spiders in my garden next year. Because by God, Susie earned her keep. And I'm here to tell you, you know, she was an insect killing fool.
By the way, Fox is my middle son.
Yeah, he's kind of tall, and I didn't want him walking into his head might actually hit the bottom of her web. But I want her to go right there in that tree or wherever she wants to get right here and pass away and have all of her babies hatch right there.
I was over at his house the other day, and I saw Susie. She's as big as that seed pouch.
You know, when she got her legs fully extended out, she's that big.
She's a good-sized spider.
Yeah, boy, I came out this morning and was getting stuff to come over here, and I looked up, and she had about 8 or 9 other spiders wrapped up she done caught. You know, oh yeah, I love Susie. I'm surprised the bird ain't got her, to be honest with you.
They're scared.
Because she's right there in the open, and we got a lot of birds. I feed birds. And so I really thought that one would get a big head and try to take her out. But
you know, some of those bigger spiders will eat birds. Mm-hmm. You'll find whole birds, you know, wrapped up in the webs.
yeah, some little starling get tangled up in that web, and she just wrap them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, right now, you know, we'll wrap this up. But what I want to point out is we're at the end of the summer. We're in the beginning of fall. Now's the time to do your resource walk and start looking for those dry flower tops, stuff for tinder. Remember I talked about every year, I've talked about this time of the year and a little later. Go on a gathering now and look for that dry grasses, those seed tops, those flower tops, that sun-bleached bark off of that tulip poplar limb that fell. Now's the time to gather it and get it in big bags or even in big jars so that this fall you've got tinder to put into your haversack, because once we get snow, once we get the heavy winter rains and etc., all that stuff disintegrates and gone.
I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna
build on it.
I'm gonna build on what you were saying. But it's funny you should say that, because I'm seeing a lot of chatter online that this is going to be a cold, wet winter.
Cold, wet winter is what my bones is telling me. All the signs I'm seeing.
Make preparations now, okay? Don't wait till it starts to snow. Noah built his ark before it started raining. Y'all need to do the same thing. But to expand on what you were talking about, gather tinder, put it in Ziplocs, okay? It'll store fine. It will not go anywhere, and it'll just sit there and look back at you. But while you're out scouting, gathering your tinder, locate those acorn trees that are potential food sources for deer, for squirrels, for hog. Locate them, mark them. Also, you can pick up the acorns, and you can eat them with some processing. We started to do that last year, but through my fault, we never got around to doing it. Life reared its ugly head, and you know.
Life keeps getting in the way of a good time. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, it was a year ago.
Remember what they said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, our intentions were the best,
Yeah.
but life got in our way.
That was right before I got custody of 2 of my grandchildren. So my family went from me and my 2 kids to me and my 2 grandkids and my kids.
Yeah.
We went from a household of 3 to a household of 5.
Went from
that
2
quick.
kids in high school to suddenly 2 starting school and 2 in high school.
Yeah, that's why I'm dressed differently this morning. We had grandparents' day at breakfast this morning at school.
And I pointed out American Beautyberry.
Yes, Beauty Berries is making fruit. We will be going out and gathering some and trying to make jelly this time and not syrup.
Hey, the syrup was good. I liked it. You know,
We're going to try to make jelly this time.
I mean, it was good.
Did you notice that kudzu's blooming?
I did.
You can take kudzu blooms and make jelly out of that too.
They make a jam-like stuff in Japan out of kudzu.
Really?
Yeah, there's a name for it. I can't call it off the top of my head, but to me, honestly,
It
looks...
wouldn't have to be kudzu jam, would it?
No, it's something else. But you know, whenever you boil okra, that gelatinous,
Yeah.
it looks kind of like that, although it's more like some sort of jelly or something. But apparently it's a flavoring or something they put on something or whatever. If I've eaten it, I don't remember it, but you know.
Kudzu jelly is very good. It tastes kind of like grape jelly, but it's clear.
Mm-hmm.
My mother made some many years ago, and it was good. It was a syrup, a thick, heavy syrup, but it was good.
It's like we were at the store not long ago and somebody pointed out that this honey was not honey. It was a fake honey. And he says, I don't know why they don't just admit that it's fake honey. I said, because they don't want to use the old name on it. And he said, what's the old name? I said, corn cob jelly. Corn cob jelly looks and tastes like honey. Remember I talked about that. After we got done shucking the cobs were boiled and turned into corn cob. It's just high fructose corn syrup, all it is, but it's jellied and it looks and tastes like honey.
You know, that's a project for later.
Hmm?
That would be something that I would want to try. No. Before you think it,
Hey,
Right.
the Bear's Cookbook.
no.
I mean, take it step at a time. You can do it. I have faith in you.
It will, yeah, the Blackbird cookbook.
Oh, the Blackbird Cookbook ain't gonna happen. I've got it, all the damn irons I got in the fire right now.
Yeah, I mean, we both do.
Whew,
We
my
both
God. If there were 3 of me, I still couldn't keep up. It seemed like every other day it's, oh, but wait a minute, remember that.
Yeah.
And that's coming up. And, oh, we're doing this.
And then, can you be here on this date? We would love to have you as an instructor.
Yeah,
About 3 phone calls a week.
yeah. Or I get stuff, you know, wanting, can we do collaborations? Can we send you product review? Can, you know, and the statement I've said many times, what is worse than failure? Success. Because,
But isn't it sweet?
oh, well, it's nice to be recognized. It's nice to be appreciated.
Well, you've
really
earned
is.
it. Come on now.
But at the same time, it's like the things I got to do in a day is just, you get up in the morning and you're running until I got done last night at 1 a.m. and had to be back up at 6:30 to be over here. So, whew, it's okay. I'll retire one day again.
Yep, mine comes up in 18 months and 22 days.
Awesome.
But I'm not counting.
Not counting.
No.
Well, anything else you want to bring up, brother?
I think for right now, we've probably got enough going.
All right.
Did you want to mention your ONEWIND?
No. I was just going to mess around with that. Just something to do.
All right.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in, and please leave any questions or comments down there. Bear will be happy to respond to them. Until next time, guys, I'm Blackie.
And Bear.
Wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.